I'm Jim Ross. He's Matt Van Horn. And this is the 3 Mile Domination Podcast.
All right, well, thank you for joining us for another episode of 3 Mile Domination Podcast. I'm Jim Ross. How you doing, Matt?
I'm doing great. Yourself?
Good. It seems like every single time we blink, it's time for another episode. So
yeah, it sure does go fast. I mean, at this time we're recording this, it's already, the end of August? So we're moving right along, getting close to the fourth quarter here.
Mm-hmm. It's exciting. So I'm glad we started doing this. It's been fun just doing this once a week and taking on a different topic of self-storage here. And in this episode, we get to talk about with our managers and owners, and this kind of thing comes up quite a bit. And that's how to structure a bonus program for the managers. And I know you kind of beta tested this one for about 5 or 6 months here at one of your stores on a kind of unique way of doing a bonus program, and I thought it would be a great episode to talk about kind of your findings and how you had that structured, and we'll see if it was a success.
Yeah, it was extremely interesting, and I want to preface this before we go into it just by saying that, you and I have probably been part of, most incentive programs that are already out there in self-storage, whether, you're paying your manager by the number of units that they rent, whether it's like a $5 per unit, whether you're paying them on how many they net, whether you're paying them on, a percentage of NOI. There's all kinds of things I've heard in our industry and how to bonus managers. And, it's either one of two things that I've run into in my life. Cause I'm based down here in Florida. I know you're based in Utah there, but, down here during the real estate crisis when everything fell off a cliff, I was, a part of one of the REITs at the time. And, as an area manager, people were not making their bonuses because a lot of the bonus programs were based off NOI, and the budgets were were done 6 months or 4 months ahead of time. So when they finally got their budgets that were approved, the real estate market caved in, and there was no way anyone was going to make their budget. So everyone shut off, morale went down the toilet, and, that was my experience in a bonus program that typically works really, really well, but when something unforeseen happens, and again, this cataclysmic real estate thing, it may be, once in our lifetime, we would hope, but when it does happen, everybody loses hope. And then when you get into other things where I'm going to bonus managers off the number of units they rent, well, they're supposed to be doing that anyways. So if you're bonusing them off the number of units they rent, let's say you don't net anything that month, well then technically you're really losing money, I think. So what we want to do is get something that's beneficial to the owner and beneficial to the manager where everyone makes money. I mean, that's really, I think, the upside of any incentive program. And the other part of that is it needs to be easy. You need to take the kind of the Apple model and, make it easy make it simple, because if it's just too complicated, I've seen bonus programs from bigger storage companies that were, outlined in a 15-page, mini book. If it takes you 15 pages to explain your program, it's too complicated. And no one's gonna understand it. So it needs to be straightforward, simple, and, everybody needs to make some money off of it. And it needs to be substantial enough to where it makes sense. So those were my criteria when I was looking at, incentive programs for managers. What can we do to where everybody makes money and no one feels like they're being taken advantage of, or, even if more money was made but certain targets weren't hit that you didn't get anything, nobody likes that kind of stuff. So the idea was to find something simple, straightforward, where everybody makes money and everyone's happy and no one feels cheated, per se. So that was really my, grand scheme of things when I was looking at bonus programs across the board.
Yeah, when you brought this up, months ago to me, I was excited. Again, we've been pursuing something like this for a long time, that where it was beneficial to everybody and easy. Again, you showed me some of those bonus structures that you had done before with the REITs, and my hell, you needed a flow chart to map that out to see where the money was coming from and how they figured it out. So I was really excited when you brought this bonus structure up on how it would work. So yeah, kind of give us some details on that.
Yeah, I mean, just going back to what you said real quick, if I have to pull out my financial calculator and do time value of money to figure out what my bonus is, it's just, as a manager, everyone's going to shut off. It makes no sense. But let's go into what we decided to do, or what we wanted to test. Because, being a management company, we have a number of stores. We can test certain things, because a lot of mom and pops and smaller facilities don't have any bonus structure, or they don't know how to implement one. So we decided, well, we're going to take one of our sites. I was going to input this system and see how it works. Now, the basis of the system is very, very straightforward. Very straightforward. The managers in the property are given a certain rate. I consider there should be 3 rates at every store, and I know that people are going to look at me and say, why? Well, I think your internet rate should be your cheaper rate. That's just me. I really do believe everything I've read and everything I've seen, that people that are shopping on the internet are price shopping. They're comparing, they're price shopping, everything else. The people that are calling on the phone, typically they're shopping a little bit too, but there may be a little more necessity, a little more need. And boy, let me tell you, if somebody walks in your office and wants to talk about storage, they're not coming in there because they're bored. They're coming in there because they need a unit. So let's go back to this bonus structure. So really what I wanted to do was my lowest rate would be on the internet. Now, the lowest rate is what I will allow the managers to give in the office if we have to. I know a lot of people say, no, if you want that rate, you have to do the reservation on the internet. Well, I'm not going to lose a rental over that. I'll take it. It's not exactly what I want, but if I have a number of 10 by 10s, we have no idea how long those 10 by 10s will be on the market. So let's go ahead and take it. The next thing would be to have an office rate. And that would be, you have to determine that based on your market rates, but it's just obviously higher than what your internet rate is. And then I would have something that anything above that is what the manager can get bonus on. So let's say someone walks into your office. Okay, for example, you have a 10 by 10, and let's say, online you have it at 95, but the person walks in the door and your office rate's $100. Now, here's where sales comes in, and this is where I think, some of the things that we lack in our industry is sales training. If I can get the manager in the office to sell that unit, to sell their property, to sell that unit for $110 rather than $105 or $100 as a standard price, whatever that upsell amount is. So let's say the standard rate in the office is $100 and they sell it for $110, that $10 is the amount that they get bonused off of. That's the way I set the system up. So if you, as a manager, can rent your units for higher than what I expect you to, that's the amount you should get bonused off of. And that's really where this system boils down to, is how much more can you get for a unit. And that's how
I can hear owners thinking right now, oh, that's reoccurring. No, this is the first month that rental pays. You're paying them $10 one time on that.
Right, I was getting that. So let's say the rate in the office is $100 for a 10 by 10, and the manager rents it for $110. The manager gets a one-off bonus. I hate to say it, but it's almost like a commission. A one-off bonus where if they rent it for $100 for $110, the manager will get the entire difference, which is the $10 for that 1 month. Now, if you're on first of the month, I don't do prorations. You only get the $10 once they pay their first full month. If you're on anniversary date, again, not a problem. So that manager, in turn, at the end of the month, or whenever you calculate it, can be quarterly, however you want to do it, is entitled to that $10. Now, what I did was I did a 5-month study on this. And the numbers were really, really amazing, not only just for what the $10, it doesn't sound like much, but when you multiply this, exponentially over however many units you have, and then an average length of stay, and then calculate your standard rent increases on top of what that person's already paying, the numbers become really, really substantial on this.
No, that's where it got exciting for me. You were just showing me some of those results, and when you look at it over time, it's a snowball effect.
Right. What I looked at was, when I looked at, it was over a 5-month period, and they were able to upsell over on top of about 51 units. So the standard rates that they would have gotten if they rented them for what I asked for was $3,717. Okay? What they ended up getting was $4,577, which was an upsell of $860, or about 23%, which was huge. When you start looking at these numbers, you don't think, oh, $10 here, $5 there. Well, it gets really big. But, what you have to realize, too, is when I started analyzing each month, for example, month number 1, where we have an average length of stay at this particular property at about 10 months. Again, you can calculate that using your rent roll, just divide it out by months and figure out what that is. What your rent increase is at this particular property, it was 6% at 6 months. So we looked at, what my profit was month 1 through 6, because the profit itself on month number 1 goes back to the manager, so I don't count that, so I only count 5 months. For the first month, it was a net of $238. And then, the upsell profit above and beyond with the $238 plus the 6% rent increase, came to, $252.28. The total, profit, and this is including the entire length of stay and everything to the property, on average, was $1,442.28. Now, again, if you're running multi-month specials, you have to take that into account. We're looking at just above and beyond what I'm paying on the rate. You also have to take into account marketing costs, things like that. But in general, this is a pretty roundabout number. And when I analyzed all 5 months in a very similar fashion, I found that we actually net, this is profit, net an extra $5,200 over, that would be my estimation, assuming people stay there 10 months, which they typically do, or pretty close to it. We would net an extra $5,200. Actually, the number was $5,211.60, but we would, about $5,200. And this is off only 51 rentals. So the profit per unit extra was around $102.19.
And just, I don't know if you have those numbers in front of you, but based off of 51 rentals, what percentage of the rentals per month was she able to upsell?
It was a majority. It wasn't all of them. I would have to go back and calculate the exact number, but it was 75+% looking at it. It was pretty extensive. You're right, because not everybody is going to go for it. Once they go below that certain office rate, I'm not bonusing you on that. My job is to get you to sell. And, the managers have incentive to sell because the bonus program's real. It's tangible. You can touch it. You know what I mean? It's not this 17-page, geometry equation that you can't figure out how to get to. It's tangible. I know if I sit here and I can, every time I have a potential customer, I can make more money. What we didn't even do is, let's talk about facility value. And that's a whole other conversation. But, you take that $5,200 and throw it on a cap rate. That's real money to an owner, to somebody who wants to sell the property. So, I'll go back and recalculate exactly what the percentage was we could go over, but it was a majority of them. Now, there are some people you're not going to do it on. There are some people that are price shopping. They're going to take your internet rate, or they're going to fight the manager, tooth and nail on everything, and that's going to happen. But, most people, I just, again, don't always know to ask for a special or to waive this fee or anything like that. They don't know to do that. So if someone just says, you know what, the first month, the in-store rate is $100, the manager gets $110, doesn't give them any special, that's valuable to me or us as operators. That's huge.
Sure. No. Actually, I always come back with, I always try to find a way for the managers to have some skin in the game, And,
yes.
And if they're able to upsell that and put that money in their pocket, everybody wins. So, no, I'm full on board with this kind of structure.
Right, and like I said, it has to be profitable to both. If you're doing a bonus structure where, the manager's getting bonus, but there's no benefit to the property, that doesn't do anything for the owner, or the ownership group investors. It doesn't do anything for them. And if you're doing it another way where it's so complicated that, again, your manager has to pull out a financial calculator to figure out if they even qualified for a bonus, well, that just destroys morale. That doesn't help either, because now all of a sudden, they don't care. So if you can get something in the middle where the owners is tangible money coming in, and then the managers, there's cash that they get, that you can touch, that what you've done, it's very easy to calculate, then I think everybody wins. And I think that's really, where we need to go. Things need to be simplified. They don't need to be crazy. The people that are doing the work for you, that are getting you better rates and making you more money, need to be compensated and taken care of. And then this, I believe, handles both sides of that coin.
Well, I think it's great. And I would also urge, any owners listening to this, if you'd like to have a spreadsheet that we've already made, that makes this calculation easy, and you can, put in the difference and see exactly what to bonus it off of, go ahead and email us at info@3miledomination.com, and we can send that off to you.
Absolutely. I mean, there could be minor alterations, but if anybody who's anywhere near proficient in Excel will understand exactly how it's done.
Yeah. Yep. We like to keep things simple, so yeah, it's pretty easy to follow.
Yes.
Well, good. Well, no, I think it's a beneficial show for everyone to listen to. Yeah, if some of these owners can apply this, and the managers get behind it, you're going to see it at the bottom line. Everyone's going to make more money. Everyone's going to be happy, and again, you're going to have happy employees, and you'll have happy owners because you're making more money in your account.
Well, I mean, and this is beautiful because the number that I'm talking about is just what you said. This is bottom line money. This is money that goes right to NOI. And, in this particular calculation, and again, there's going to be variances that go forward and backwards. This is only on averages and things like that, but the numbers are typically pretty close. The total profit on this, again, was about $5,200. Well, in Florida, that's a replacement HVAC unit for me, that comes up from time to time. And I'm sure, out west on different things where things break, this is a big boon. We talk about these things that just crop up and hit us all the time. And I'm sure we'll do a future episode on maintenance. But, these things that come up and hit us as operators from nowhere, this is the kind of things that helps insulate us on those kind of things. Because, again, going back to, an owner and investor and asking, say, hey, we need $5,000 for an AC unit. Well, nobody wants to give up $5,000. So it's nice to have a cushion as an operator to be able to, make repairs and things like this when you're managing your, this all goes down to rate management. Rate management's not just about throwing a percentage in your computer and sitting back. It's really about manipulating all aspects of the rental process and, current tenants while they're there to try to make as much money as you can. And you can apply this same system to, merchandise sales and insurance sales, truck sales, all kinds of things.
Oh, sure.
But it's straightforward enough to understand so everybody gets it.
I'm excited. It's going to be, and again, we'll revisit this one again. Again, we've only done it at, one location as a beta test, but we're going to start rolling it out at all of our stores, and we'll have a lot more data to, we'll follow up on this and let everyone know how it's going. But again, I'm excited to see how this one facility, how that rented up and how they got extra income that way. You can always see the writing on the wall. It's going to be a success everywhere we roll it out at.
Yeah, and it's great not only to talk about things in theory, but it's also really nice to have some sort of case study where you can go back and look at actual numbers and say, hey, you know what, this really did work.
Well, that's just it. I mean, we don't talk about things that we haven't had direct experience with.
Right.
We're not sitting on the soapbox and just doing all these theories, and this would be nice, that would be nice. No. We're going to talk about things that we've actually done, experienced at the sites that we run. That's the whole point of what this podcast is all about. This is what works. This is what we've done. You give it a shot now. That's
and not only that, right, and not only that, but to also warn you from things that we've seen in our career that doesn't work. You don't have to make the same mistakes that we've made over the years. We've worked it out and find things that, have worked, so use those. And you don't have to reinvent the wheel.
There you go. Well, perfect. Well, we will wrap this episode up here. We'll do another one here next week.
Excellent. Well, you have a great week.
All right. You too. Take care.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the 3 Mile Domination Podcast. Please check us out at our website, 3miledomination.com, where you can download our free ebook, connect with us on all the social media platforms, and to subscribe to this podcast. Please spread the word to those you think that will benefit from this show. Just don't tell your competitors. Thanks again.